Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Today we are doing part 2 of our full review of the Kat Von D Saint and Sinner palette. Last week I did a first impression, so I used it all week long, posted a bunch of looks with it. I will link those looks down below. They are posted on Instagram. And today, now that I have like a good, like really solid foundation of like what I think of the palette overall, now I feel like I could give you my full review, my full opinion on the palette itself. If you're just looking for a full review of the palette, I will try to remember to put a timestamp of when the review starts versus the tutorial. The tutorial today is on the simple side. I added a little bit of stud work on it to make it a little bit more interesting because it just felt really neutral and whatever. And I also used the new limited edition Glimmer veil that just came out. It's nice. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please go ahead and do so. You can come back and see me. We'll be here twice a week at least, hanging out, having a good old time. I'll wait. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That helps me out tremendously. So if you could just pop that little thumb up down there, I would just squeeze your little cheeks. So if you'd like to see how I did this smoky studded winged eyeliner look, keep on watching. And if you want to see a full review, my final thoughts on the Kat Von D Saint and Sinner palette, stick around for that too. That'll be after the tutorial. Saint and Sinner palette, round 2. Let's do this. That's what we came here for. Just like last time, for the crease shade, the transition shade, if you will, I'm going to grab the color Martyr. So to be honest, Martyr is the only shade in this palette that's suitable as a transition for most people. So in my eyes, that's kind of something this palette is lacking. I'm actually going to mix that with a little bit of the color Amen because it's even a little bit too dark for a transition shade. So if I mix it with Amen, which is kind of like a bone color, I can like use that as a transition and then go straight in with Martyr to deepen the crease a little bit more. On a slightly smaller blending brush, this is a Sigma E40 from the Rose Gold collection, which for some reason I find to be a little bit smaller than the other E40s. But I'm going to go in with Martyr by itself now and just deepen that crease a little bit and give this eye a little bit of shape because it's feeling a little bit like Play-Doh right now. For the lid, I'm going to go in with this color Ashes, which is kind of like an ash gray, aptly named, but it also has like a little bit of green shimmer in it. The green shimmer is not super duper apparent when you put it on the eye, but if you catch it just right in photographs, it looks really, really pretty and interesting. So I'm going to pack that onto a BH number 8 brush. This is just like a fat shader brush, and I'm actually going to wet it before I put it on because I want to make sure I get a little bit of impact with it. This is one of those shades in the palette that's like really interesting and unique and fun, which is what makes me like this palette more. Okay, I'm going to deepen the outer corner of that just a little bit, going back in with the shade Martyr again. This time I'm putting it on a MAC 217 brush. I'm going to deepen that outer corner even further by going in with this deep brown, like almost plummy brown shade Crucifix. And I'm doing that on a smaller domed brush. This is the BH number 7. All the major blending is pretty much done for the lid, so I am going to go ahead and conceal underneath my eyes so we can start working underneath and kind of smoke that out a little bit and connect it up into like a more winged shape. Alright, I'm going to pick up that MAC 217 brush again, and I'm going to dip it into that nice mustardy brown shade Martyr, and I'm going to run that underneath my eyes and connect it in the top, but I'm going to concentrate on like kind of making it a little bit more wing shaped. And I'm going to do the same thing with that BH number 7 brush and the darker brown shade Crucifix. Okay, next I'm going to start smoking out a wing, but I find the best way to do like, make a map on your face to smoke the wing out is to just like do the bottom line that you would usually do with your winged liner first. Just kind of draw it in, smoke around it, and then go back in with more liquid liner later if you need to. I'm not sure if I'm going to need to with this look because I think I'm going to do just like a black smoky wing. We'll see. So I'm going to grab my Kat Von D tattoo liner in the shade Trooper. I've been thinking, and I really wish that they would come out with a tattoo liner in like a bright blood red shade would make my entire life. My whole life would be made. Made! So now that we have the rough angle of where we want the winged out smoky liner to go, we can follow that to create the shape so we know that it's like the normal wing shape, because sometimes I find when I'm like putting a smoky liner on, I like lose my way a little bit along the way and it's like way bigger than I expected or like lower than I expected. This way we have a little map. To smoke that wing out, I'm going to use the matte black shade in the palette called Sabbath. Get it? Black Sabbath. That's punny. And I'm going to do that with a Sigma E65 small angle brush. All right, I'm going to start from the base of the lower lash line and just start kind of stamping some black there and then drag that out where we drew that line. And I'm going to do the same on the top lid. I'm just going to start near the lash line and then build that up into a smoky wing. I'm going to soften the edges of that with this same smaller blending brush that I used earlier. It has a little bit of that brown color still left on it. Very, 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 very lightly, because I'm not trying to lose the blackness. I'm just trying to smoke the edges. I'm gonna go back in and build up more and then like smoke it out a little more again. But doing it like in little steps like this is helpful because then you don't have to do all the blending at the end.
3 hours later.
Damn, that was a lot of blending. It was a lot more blending than I expected, and I'm not even sure that I'm completely happy with the level of blending yet, to be honest, and I might do some more. I'm going to use this silvery shade Heaven. I am going to apply that using this e.l.f. pencil brush, and I am going to wet it and pack it onto my inner corners. Okay, so I like the way the palette is performing still, but this look is feeling a little bit boring to me. So I think what I'm gonna do is add some studs to the center of that wing. I grab one of my handy dandy cheapy stud wheels that I got off of Amazon, and I'm going to use the silver round dome studs. These are super duper tiny, these ones, so normally where I would go and pick them up with tweezers, I am actually just going to dampen a brush and use the brush almost like a wax stick to pick them up, because it's easier to just get them to stick to the end of a damp brush than it is to get them to like be between the pinchies of a tweezer. So standard procedure, if you've never watched me glue things to my face before, I like to put down my lash adhesive, a clear one, wherever I would like to do a stud or whatever I'm using, and then I just glue the stud over it. However, I like to work in sections, so try to like get on a few before the glue completely dries. But what I will use tweezers for is if I put one of them down in the wrong spot, I'll like kind of pluck it off and move it with the tweezers. Okay, that's definitely a little bit more interesting and fun, so I feel better about that now. Next, I want to brighten up my waterline, so I'm going to run through it with my NYX Wonder Pencil in Light. Normally, I would use my Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in Walk of Shame, but I can't find it right now. So we're going to make do. Okay, this look desperately needs some mascara and lashes, so I'm going to pop off camera and do those. I actually opted not to put any mascara on the lower lash line today, just because I didn't want to cover up any of the studs that we put down. I might decide later that that was a mistake, but for now, we're going with it. For the lips, I wanted to try the new Glimmer Veil from Kat Von D that just came out, limited edition. This is the shade Supersonic. It's an orange shade that has like a green gold shift in it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like the way it looks with this eye look, because the eye look is so cool toned. But I'm gonna put it on because I want to try it out anyway. I haven't tried it yet, and if I don't like it, we will switch to like a matte liquid lipstick or something. Okay, so I don't think it completely goes with the eyes, but the color itself is awesome. So I think what I'm gonna do, because I don't want to take it off because I really like it and I don't want to be boring and keep wearing the same shit that I wear all the time, I think maybe I'm gonna like maybe warm up the highlight on the inner corner of this eye a little bit to go with it. I might ruin the whole thing. This might ruin everything, but we're gonna try. I'm gonna pick a little bit of the gold shade Relic from the palette up on a pencil brush, and I'm going to just pop that on the inner corner and mix it with that silver shade that's already there. That silver shade was really beautiful for the record, but I mean, we're trying to make it work together here. Okay, now I think that ties together much more nicely. And here's the finished look. Okay, now for my thoughts on this palette. The quality of this palette, amazing. The shimmers are pigmented and they blend really nicely. They don't have a ton of fallout. I do like them better wet. That applies to all shimmer shades in general though. Very few shimmer shades out there that I don't like better wet. The mattes are very, very consistent with the Kat Von D matte formula. If you have the Shade and Light eye palette, I'm sure you're very familiar with it. It's highly pigmented, but it's not super soft and it blends extremely easily. So if you like the formula in the Shade and Light eye palette, you're going to love the mattes in this palette. They are absolutely just matte eyeshadow perfection in my opinion. The negatives on this palette, I would say are actually really similar to the negatives that I saw about this palette when I first opened it last week during that first impression. I feel like maybe they could have put in a few more shades that would have given you more diversity in the looks. So things that you could use to like darken and different types of transition shades and stuff like that. So I really think like as far as like the staple shades that I like to have in a palette to make the palette complete, it's not exactly 100% there. The other minor complaint that I have with this palette is that I'm not really sold on the packaging. The packaging is beautiful, don't get me wrong. I love the way it looks. I think it's quality, it's well done, it's very interesting. The way that it opens and closes is super unique. It like looks great on my desk. However, it's not very practical. It takes up a lot of space on my counter when I open it up, and that might seem very picky to you. But things like that, when I have a ton of makeup, actually kind of make or break whether I tend to pick something up or not. So for me, I feel like the packaging is beautiful, but it could have been a little bit more practical. And like I said in my last video, it is a little bit larger than I like my palettes to be. If it was maybe a little bit less ornate and condensed into like a normal size palette, I might be more likely to pick this up to bring it with me to travel. That being said, overall, I do recommend this palette. If you look at the colors in this palette and you say to yourself, that's some shit that I can make some really nice eye looks with, then you're going to like it. There's no doubt in my mind that you won't be impressed with the quality of this. Another thing that I really like about this palette is the inclusion of the two shades that are meant to be like a topper for eyeshadow. So the two top shades, they're right here. They're called Absolution and Rapture. Those two shades are like a sheer shimmery veil of color that you can put over other shadows to transform them, which I think is super duper interesting and not something that you see in most palettes. It's also a ballsy move because a lot of people want to understand what they're for and they'll swatch them and be like, ugh, these are shit, because they're not super pigmented. But the idea is that they're supposed to go over another shadow and add to it rather than completely blocking it out. So you actually don't want that to be super pigmented. So overall, on the whole, if you are not bothered by a little bit of like a cumbersome packaging, and you also don't mind that it doesn't have a ton of transition shades and you can like just pull your transitions from another palette or something, then this is definitely a palette that you might want to get your hands on. Personally, for me, I'm like 80% on board with this palette. Overall, it's super nice. It's definitely got like some interesting stuff that other palettes don't have. I think that it is worth a purchase in the sense that like you probably don't have all of these shades in your collection. There are definitely some unique ones in here as well. It just might not be my most reached for palette of the year. Maybe like, you know, like maybe it'll be top 5, but definitely not like top 3, you know what I mean? And I think that's all I have to say for today. I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts on this palette. Let me know what you think of this format of doing like a first impression and then a review. I think it's actually a really good way to do it because A, we get two tutorials out of one palette then. I don't just do one tutorial and then never pick it up again. So you guys get more ideas on how to use the palette if you picked it up. And also I get a more rounded review. So like we get the excitement and the ooh, what's in there first impression out of the way, and then we get the real meat and potatoes in the second one. So I think it's a really good system. Let me know if you agree. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. I know I already said that, but hello, I have to say it again. Please don't forget to subscribe, because that is how we will stay in touch here. That's how you'll see part A and part B of these reviews. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, because you'll be really doing me a huge favor by doing that. Don't forget to follow me on social media. If you're sleeping on that, then I'm gonna have to spank your bottom, because that's like where I post the most stuff. Instagram is where I post most often, so if you find yourself missing little old me on here between videos, well, Instagram's where it's at. That is all for today. I'm going to go take some photos, eat some snacks, drink some tea. Oh, I already drank a big cup of tea. But maybe another one. It is Saturday after all, you know, Saturday tea day. That's not a thing. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.